happen, I think. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Well, first of all, welcome everyone to our very first episode of our very own podcast, SERPs of the Week. Thank you very much, Kevin, for being here today with us. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm super pumped about this.
Oh, thank you. Me too. I'm thrilled. How the weather nowadays in Chicago, right? You're based there.
It's actually sunny today. I'm not going to jinx it, but last couple of days have been great. It's a really mild winter this year, which is very untypical for Chicago. So everybody's skeptical if maybe we'll get another wave of snow and rain.
Oh, okay. So it's not yet spring, right?
Not yet. It's what we call fool's spring. So typically you think it's coming, but then whoops, it's just kidding, and it's gonna be bad weather again. So we're enjoying it, but skeptical.
Yeah, well, since I'm based in Cyprus, I think the spring is around the corner, really, because starting from the next week, my husband told me that it's going to be 25 degrees Celsius, which is, I can't really translate it in the US, but since you are from Germany, Kevin, you should understand what I'm talking about anyway.
It means a good time.
Yeah, 25, and then it's going to be 30, and then, oh my gosh, it's going to be too hot. I have
must
to
be
say
terrible.
Too hot. Yeah, must be the time between kind of basically winter, which was like kind of 12, 14 degrees. There was like a few weeks, and then before that was like also like 20, 25, something like between. So the time of real winter is very short here anyway.
Good for you.
Yeah. Kevin, I wonder about, something about you, because I know you really love doing workouts, right?
Yeah.
Can I say that you're the strongest SEO?
Oh, I don't know. I think there's some really strong SEOs out there. I love that you've, done. Oh my God, here we go. Yeah, that's a video from a while ago.
What was the weight of this?
I think it was 185 kilos.
Oh my gosh!
I think there's some really strong SEOs out there. I know Joe Sinkwitz. He used to pull some really heavy weights back in the day. And there's some other really strong people. So I don't want to be. I think it would be arrogant for me to say I'm the strongest one, but I certainly enjoy it. And whoever wants
you are in kind of top 10, right?
Like maybe
people,
I'm the top 10.
Say, right?
Yeah, I take top 10. Yeah, I think that's a good
will be that will be quite fair, right? Okay, so what we are going to do today, we are going to have an SEO workout, I think, right?
Good call. I love it.
Okay, so first of all, so if you don't really know, right, my name is Alex, and I'm the founder of Digital Olympus, and I will be today your host. And so we have Kevin. He is a growth advisor who have the world's market leaders define and evolve their organic growth strategy. But being honest, I have to admit, I'm not as good in introduction as I'd love to be. So I'm more than certain that Kevin will be the best person, right, to make, introduction of himself, right, Kevin? So
sure.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit, right, about your background and for sure about your brilliant newsletter, right, the Growth Memo. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm super happy to give a brief background. I don't want to talk about myself for too long, but just for everybody's context, I've been in SEO and growth for the last 12, 13 years. I recently went out on my own as an advisor, as you said. I work with companies like Ramp, Snapchat, Nextdoor, Finder, Riverside, a couple of other amazing companies. And before that, I led SEO and part of the growth team at Shopify. Before then, SEO and content at G2. Before then, SEO at Atlassian. So my background is really in SaaS and marketplaces with a strong focus on search, but also some strengths and conversion, email, growth. So that's really where I'm coming from. We've already covered the workout, so I don't need to go too deep into that. And a couple of years ago, I started this newsletter called the Growth Memo, which now has almost 8,500 subscribers. It's coming out weekly. It's free.
Whoa, that is a really great achievement.
Thank you.
That is,
you.
well, since it's very laser targeted, right? So you only have people that are interested in SEO. And in reality, if you think about this, we don't really have such a huge community, right? So it's quite hard actually to gather together such a solid list.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. It's I got very fortunate. It's basically a weekly commentary on what's most important, and I got lucky to have also lots of founders, investors, executives on the newsletter. It's not necessarily a tactical SEO newsletter. It's much more about the broader strategy, and it's a lot of fun. So I really enjoy putting it out there, and it seems to resonate well with my readers too.
Yeah, well, I really love your newsletter too, actually, and being honest, it's like, I've heard it from a few of our own clients that they really enjoy your newsletter too. So there are always a lot of touching points,
I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, you're very welcome. Okay, so what we are going to do today, guys, we agreed to look at the very particular search term, how to start a podcast. Well, which is like, we are doing a podcast and we want to talk about how to start a podcast, which is a good topic, I think. Okay, so let me do the following. I want to share my screen, right, to show you kind of a sneak peek, right? That is a quick overview about this search term. So we are going to use, I also have access to SEMrush. So if you need, Kevin, you can tell me and we can open SEMrush as well. But that is just a starting point. So first of all, Kevin, what kind of feelings do you get from, from looking at these keywords? Just kind of quick thoughts.
Fantastic question, Alex, because I love that we start at the top because there's already a lot of valuable information that we can take into account. One of them is just the development and trend of search volume. So as you can already see from the graph here, search volume is growing over time. It dropped a little bit after the pandemic, and there's a lot of market data out there showing that people start fewer podcasts after the pandemic simply because there were so many during the pandemic. But it is important to keep in mind that search volume is still higher post-pandemic than it was pre-pandemic. And I like to look at the search volume trend for maybe a broader topic, so many keywords within the same topic, to just get a feeling for, is that market growing or is that market shrinking? And that market for podcasting is clearly growing. And we can see from keyword difficulty that it is competitive. Now, in this context, keyword difficulty looks at the number of links to the top results. And that is often a good telltale, a good indicator for how difficult it is to rank for a certain term.
By the way, do you think, like, from your perspective, right, can we say that the market of podcasting, I would say, like, per se, is kind of faster, quite fast growing market, sorry. So do you think it's kind of similar to live streaming, something along the following lines? And it's still kind of in the stage of its development, I would say, right? It's not yet unleashed the full potential of it. What do you think about it?
It's a great question. Something that I've noticed in having my own podcast too, is that over, if we look at it on a 5-year time horizon, podcasting market is certainly growing. If you look at it on a 12 months time horizon, it has slowed down a little bit. However, podcasting really had this boom cycle for the last couple of years. And it's now getting much more competitive, but there are still many niches and many specialized topics where there is a lot of opportunity, right? So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, by the way, as we're doing right now, I think there's still a lot of opportunity, but the requirements for production value have gone up a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Karen. So it's all about, right now you can't really just start a podcast and running it in the same manner, right, as you could potentially done some time ago, right? Just because the basically the current level of competition requires you to do something most probably more unique, more engaging, or to have some very interesting guests, the one that you can't really see and connect with through some other podcasters, right? So something along the following lines, just because basically our ability most probably to consume that information is still the same, right? we can only consume what we consume, right? So we are still at the same level, sadly. Maybe something in the future, right, would come and allow us to consume way more information. I don't really know, looking at some pictures and then you're kind of getting insights behind those pictures, something like that, like,
Yes.
scientific future maybe, right? But the way, right, we can do it is still the same. So I guess that is the reason why we become even pickier, right, in terms of what we want to hear and what we want to read as well, right? Talking about search engine results as well, right? What we want to click, what we don't want to click. And that is very much it in terms of almost probably. And also we have high expectations, right?
Yes.
Because whenever we find something that we don't really like, and since we've all kind of created a historical kind of background of everything, right? We don't really need tons of time, right, in order to understand that this is not good, right? So we kind of scan through this and basically put aside.
Yes, I totally agree with you. The way that I think about this is that attention is very limited and users, they're very picky. So when it comes to podcasts, typically most people have 3 to 5 podcasts that they listen to almost every episode or most of the time. And then there is an outer circle of podcasts that they might listen to from time to time. However, those core podcasts, those 3 to 5, can change very quickly. If you publish a couple of bad episodes in a row, they quickly get replaced because there is so much attention, competition. I mean, and I think it's very similar in the search results. When you click through to a search result and you don't get a quick feeling that you might get what you're looking for, people will very quickly abandon a page and just click through to something else, which then, of course, is some sort of a signal that Google measures. Without going too deep into the technicalities, that idea of user satisfaction is present everywhere in podcasts themselves and also in the search results. And one graph that we're looking at right now that I really love is a graph that helps us understand SERP fluctuations. Basically, how high is Google's confidence that the mix of search results is ideal for what users are trying to achieve when they search for that keyword. And if you filter this graph by the top 10, so when you click on the top 100, filter down to the top 10, a little higher. Yep, there it is. I love that view because you can see how much the top results bounce around. And that shows how Google is testing different mixes of results, different constellations over time. And to me, that signifies that Google is still trying to figure out the right SERP mix or the right mix of results here. And that is something important to take into account because it means that if you play in the top 10, you still have a good shot at maybe getting to the top. But there is a inherent kind of problem that Google is trying to figure out, and it's very often related to user intent.
Yeah, well, I just want to add something about, just a little bit circling back to the topic about creating so-called long clicks, right? So I've been thinking whenever I was basically sometimes, especially when I look at very competitive search terms, so like this one, in fact, right? Do you agree, Kevin, that this one is quite competitive, right?
Yes.
So whenever I look at those, search terms, I think, I try to think over what we can do, right, as marketers to create those long clicks, right, ideally. Because whenever we can capture someone from search engine results, right, the next step is actually to keep this user as long as possible, at least on your page, but if possible, to let this user continues his or her journey throughout your website, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
And I've been thinking about, okay, so if, right, tomorrow I desperately need to start ranking via this keyword, right, how to start a podcast. I think one of the competitive advantages that you can use is to create something like a tool or something like engaging content that will allow people to interact with your page in different ways and creating those so-called long clicks.
Yes, that is
By the way,
absolutely
do you
right.
remember there was actually very, very, I don't really remember who was the owner of this, but then Brian didn't actually purchase this website, but that was a website that was basically showcasing various link building strategies, and the user was able to choose the duration of their campaign and also what kind of resources they have. And then it was basically creating a list of the right link building strategies for your particular situation, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite an interesting way of actually keeping users, right, engaging with them.
Totally.
And being honest, I rarely see this nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, here's what most SEOs get wrong when it comes to engagement. A lot of SEOs think that it's just about keeping users on the page for as long as possible. But the way to actually think about long clicks is contextual, right? Sometimes a long click can be just 5 seconds long or maybe 3 seconds long because users just want an actual answer. Sometimes a long click can be 30 minutes long. And that's an extreme, of course, right? But there's a broad spectrum. And the deciding factor here is what users are trying to accomplish. So the long click in that essence is what you actually want to get to is you want users to complete their journey, as you said, Alex. And you have to ask yourself, how can I make that as easy as possible? And what a lot of SEOs do is they introduce, they add videos to the page and other things to keep the user on the page longer. But the user doesn't want to stay on the page long. The user wants to stay on the page as short as possible. They just want an answer. So the way to think about that is, how can I make that as easy as possible so that users complete their journey? Because the long click is contextual. We don't know how long the long click should be. We don't know, should it be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, 10 minutes? So you want to make it as easy as possible. Sometimes that's by providing a tool, for example. And then other times it is just to front load the key information based on the user intent. So when we think about, what are users actually trying to accomplish when they look for how to start a podcast? They want to get an idea of, what equipment do I need? What software do I need? How do I host this? How much will this cost? These are all key questions.
How to promote it.
Yeah, how to promote it. Exactly. There's a whole list of questions. And users want to get to the answer as quickly as possible. So by flipping the information structure of the article, in this case, on its head, or providing some sort of a tool, you can help users get to an answer faster. And that then makes them complete the user journey, and they're not going back to the search results to click on other pages. And that is a successful long click.
Yeah, but in reality, right? How can you understand if the satisfaction rate, right, of a user was accomplished successfully or not? Because sometimes you're right. Sometimes whenever I have to stay on a page longer, that doesn't mean necessarily that I get what I want, right?
Yes.
It might be just because it's misleading.
Yes.
Well, have you ever, guys, have you ever tried in your life to look something related to real life in Google, not related to SEO, digital marketing? So for instance, how to, I don't really know, issue some papers, right? When you're kind of living in some other country. Most probably, Kevin, you can relate to this.
Yeah.
What you're ending up, right? What kind of pages you see? SEO optimized one. Absolute crap, right? They are not really helping, right? They are, in the majority of cases, they're either sharing misleading information, or that is, you can understand from the very beginning that is an SEO optimized text.
Yeah, it's my favorite use case for that exact problem is looking at the post-credit scenes for movies. Marvel started this trend a couple of years ago where after the movie's done, after the credits, they show 1 or 2 post-credit scenes. And so every time I go to the movies, I always open my phone and look at, does this movie have a post-credit scene? And every time there's this, to get to it's just a yes or no answer, really, right? Or the answer is 1 or 2, but you always have to read all of this line of text, wall of text about the background of the movie, about the, like all these other. There's so much information that I don't want. And that is the perfect example. And it's bugging me that these pages rank well. There's other reasons, right? There's probably backlinks or content or something. But at the end of the day, it is a huge pain. And that's a perfect example to demonstrate how not to optimize for the long click.
Yeah, that is very true. So sometimes basically we as SEOs, right, we create all those pages and then blaming, other SEOs in doing the same, right?
Yes,
That
exactly.
is quite ironically, I would say.
Absolutely. It's all about user satisfaction and interaction at this point. And it can, as you said, right, there are really good ways to get a competitive advantage too, either by providing the information up front or by creating a tool. And tools, lead generation tools or consumer tools work really, really well these days. It might be tricky for, how to start a podcast. Maybe there is a calculator for how much budget you have, and then it gives you a
Or
recommendation.
maybe it's kind of a tool that basically asking you, right, what you want to either reach or what kind of resources you have in place.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
basically based on this, it's kind of designing your user journey, saying, okay, so if you want to do it on a shoestring budget, right, you can use this free tool, something like that, right? So kind of, I don't know, YouTube and so on, right?
Yeah.
If you have some money you want to invest in it, then you can use tools like Riverside, for instance, right, which is kind of amazing too. Sadly, we can't really use it, by the way. I really love Riverside, just can't really use in this particular case.
Yeah,
Just
same.
because
I use
it
it
doesn't
too.
really allow to stream to LinkedIn. That is the problem.
Right.
Anyway,
But
hopefully they're going to add it. But
sure.
The tool itself is beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, it depends most probably on how you want to tackle this. And the next question is actually, right, what kind of business you represent, right? Because if we circle back to our search engine results, right? I'll just, share my screen one more time, right?
Sure.
You will see here, right, that we have a plenty of affiliate projects. Yeah. Well, most probably just because whenever we are talking about how to start something, it's kind of organically, right, interconnected with some affiliate businesses, just because users are, in the right state of mind.
That's
exactly do you
right.
think so? Yeah, I think they're kind of at the top of the funnel, and that is the reason why it's so easy to convert them, right? So suggest the right tools, for instance, right, and move forward. What do you feel whenever you look at that kind of search engine results, right, and that type of page that we have here? What kind of feelings do you have? Maybe some kind of observation from your side, right?
Great question. And I absolutely agree with your point on the different types of websites appearing for a search result. We earlier spoke about SERP fluctuations and how Google tries to get the SERP mix right. That happens on a couple of dimensions. One of the dimensions, and probably the most important, is just simply which result is most relevant. But then the other one is also what should be the mix of different types of pages. And when I say different types of pages or domains, I mean, as you said, affiliate pages, publishers, like we see Forbes ranking here, or the tool providers themselves, like Riverside. And it's interesting, we see Smart Passive Income getting the featured snippet at the top. That's an affiliate site. And I always...
But that is a very strong affiliate site, I have to say, because there are, in the majority of cases, right, you shouldn't get it wrong, just because whenever we talk about affiliate websites, right, there are something, right, that basically differentiate them quite a lot. So for instance, this one, it has a very strong brand behind Smart Passive Income, because Pat Flynn, he's quite a big brand, right? If you're going to search via his name, he has a very big footprint, right? And then if you look at some other, like the podcast host, whatever it is, right, they also have real people behind this project, but for sure it's not as big as Pat Flynn. And so it's just kind of not the same in terms of most probably weight of the brand, if we can try to weight it in some way.
Yes, and you can tell by the number of backlinks and referring domains that he gets. So in this case, and it's not always the case, but in this case, the domain with the most backlinks and the most referring domains ranks at the top. It also ranks in a featured snippet, right? So we have to take into account that there is a high chance that this page is optimized for the featured snippet, meaning somebody has gone to the content and made sure that it exactly aligns with the question, which is how to start a podcast. And it seems that domain trust is another important factor. It certainly isn't the title, because you can see it still has 2022 in the title. So Pat, friendly reminder to update your titles. But it's still, it's still kind of, again, has a lot of backlinks. Is optimized for the featured snippet. And even in the title, he does one thing really well, which is include USPs or unique value propositions. And in this case, it is a step-by-step process. And it seems simple, but if you think about it from a user perspective, people are looking for the search term who have no idea about how to start a podcast. So they want to be taken by the hand and they want to be guided through the process. And by just making clear, look, this is a step-by-step introduction. It is also up to date. Again, in this case, a slight mistake, but I assume that most of the time he'll have the title with the right year. That is a strong signal to users saying, "Oh yeah, I get what I find here. It's easy to understand, and it is up to date."
Yeah. Well, I just want to take a look. Actually, I'm curious. Yeah, it's basically I want to open this. You know what? I'll share my screen because I want to take a look at the real. Maybe the snippet is just outdated in Google, right? So maybe they've already updated the title. So I want to take a look. Let me share my screen one more time.
Sure.
So yeah, I just want to take a look at their title from here, right? From page source.
Okay, it's H1. H1 seems to be outdated,
yeah.
so that could be
yeah,
one
that
of the
is.
problems.
It is what it is. So we can't really blame Google this time, right?
Yep.
Because a lot of us out there kind of, okay, that is not me, that is Google taking wrong information, showing not really my title and so on. But then kind of turns out that you forgot about title.
It happens to the
yeah,
best.
But yeah, that is very true. I would say the one more thing that actually captured my attention when it comes to, this particular search engine results, that basically the importance, right, of having the particular search term in your URL, right? So how to start a podcast, because obviously that is, in the current situation, we can say that is a ranking factor. Well, in title, in URL as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Alex. And I want to say that I changed my mind about this a little bit. Up until recently, I was not too bullish on the exact URL structure. But then when the Yandex ranking factors leaked, I saw that they measured that, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm on the right track here. So, and of course, we always have to think about what's the priority of that specific ranking signal or ranking factor. I think a good title can maybe outweigh a bad URL, but it's still something that now I look at a bit closer. So I would agree with you here, and it's something that I thought differently about for a long time.
Yeah, I would say the following. Whenever you look, what I do right normally, whenever I look at search engine results, at particular one, right, you see what is kind of basically the best of the best, right? And whenever you see that all URLs more or less have the same structure, right, then basically, if you don't really have the same structure, then you have to close this gap, either with your brand authority. You might have, one more time, your brand authority, your overall domain authority might help you, right? Or then, if no, right, then the only thing that can also help you, just links, right? So you can close all possible gaps with links. But guys, trust me, that is not the right approach to this. Right. Because it's basically just like having a leaking website, right? So you have this hole, you're putting there a plaster, then you're putting over there a plaster, then over there, but then it's kind of at some point it's starting to be a disaster, right? So you can't really keep continuously, right, trying to make it beautiful while it's ugly in reality.
Yeah, I think you have a really strong point here, Alex. Sometimes, and actually many times, backlinks are really what's holding a site back, but it's not going to solve every problem. There are requirements you have to fulfill before backlinks can maximize your potential.
for basically saying that it's not going to solve each and every problem, because a lot of people, they come to us, especially because we are a link building agency, and they tell me, look, I just know we need to build these links, and that is very much it. Right. I was like, no, that is not very much it. it's even not going to change anything, most probably, if you have that type of a mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. As you correctly said, if you want to build a stronger engine in a car, you first need to make sure the car can carry the engine. And that is often the case with backlinks. And you will also see that Google tries to mix the results in many ways. And one of those ways is that some results should be very authoritative, and then maybe other results are new and not as authoritative, right? So you'll see, for example, Riverside. In this case, they also have a blog ranking for how to start a podcast that is about how to start a podcast for free, and it ranks right under the other blog article from Riverside. And that blog article only has 3 backlinks, and it has 1 referring domain. So yeah, you see it right there. That's the original blog article. And right below is another blog article that Google also tries out. And it is because Google understands that some users might want to understand how to start a podcast for free. And you can even see that when you look at the search results at the top, sometimes you have these little pills, these little bubbles. And these are suggested searches or searches that happen a lot of times. And sometimes they include the word free. So that's a little bit of a signal to Google that the point of it being free is important. And that's something to take into account, right? There might be some links that don't have a lot of, some pages that don't have a lot of links. And that's because Google wants to try them out. So, it's not as easy as always saying more links are going to help. However, if you have ticked all the marks, if you have great content, title, right, you're optimized for SERP features, your user experience is great, you front load the answers users are looking for, and you still don't rank high, there's a really
and you
high
have
chance.
a very good product as well.
Yes, you have a good product. Exactly.
Or
good
service,
product.
just because you can't really substitute the quality, right, of the way you either provide your product or service with having links or well delivered content, right? Because at the end of the day, people would be writing bad reviews about your business and so on, right? So it's kind of interconnected, I would say.
Exactly, it is all interconnected, and then sometimes links really move the needle. I think one of the members from the audience, by the way, thanks for tuning in, asked us, in which case can links actually worsen the rank or make it worse? And there are legit cases where backlinks hold a page back from ranking for the target keyword. And I've seen that a lot of times when a domain has been out there for a long time and has collected a lot of backlinks, but the business model changed a couple of times, right? For example, it goes from an agency to a publisher, or from a tech company to an agency or something else.
Oh, that is just because authority is no longer matching the business, right? So they're basically inheriting. That is the reason why you shouldn't actually buy expired domains, because it's very hard to find an expired domain that will be perfectly matching, right, your business. And you're going to inherit links that are quite misleading for Google.
Yes, you have to be very, very careful about that. Sending the wrong signal can completely mess up Google's understanding of the domain, even though we hear a lot of like, oh, don't worry about backlinks and we'll sort them out. But I've seen it many times, and sometimes for huge domains and huge businesses. We're not talking about a small agency around the corner. We're talking about big enterprise businesses with millions and hundreds of millions of annual recurring revenue. So this can become a big problem. So as you said, if you buy expired domains, you want to have high confidence that these are relevant links, but you want to be incredibly careful, because not every tool is perfect at capturing all the backlinks. And especially for older domains, I'm talking about domains that are 20 plus years old, you don't always know what links are still pointing at them. So there is an inherent risk when you send mixed signals about what type of sites you are and what the core topics are that you should be present for.
Yeah, well, I would say there is, when it comes to link building, I think there is one tip, and that is really helping, I think I've heard it from someone else, but I think it's a great one. So basically, if you are not afraid to post this link, right, where you got it on a particular website page, if you're not afraid to share it across your social media platform, that is the right link, right? So that is the link that technically, right, you can acquire organically, right? And that is basically the main purpose of link building, right? Just streamlining the process of acquiring those links that you'd love actually to acquire organically, but by some reason you either don't really have the right resources in place, or you might not really, or you might really want to speed up the process, right? So you basically have some deadlines, right? Or you have certain level of competition and you can't really postpone waiting till the moment when you're going to start those links, getting those links organically, right?
Yes, I love that. I love that heuristic of saying, "Oh, are we proud of this link? Would we showcase that?" And another one that I have used very successfully in the past is, do these links drive traffic? Do these links actually get clicks? That is a highly valuable signal, at least in my mind, to Google. And you can measure referral traffic over time when you invest in link building and just see, hey, is this going up? Ideally, you can measure traffic from specific links, but even just by looking at referral traffic in Google Analytics over time, you should get a good understanding if you have valuable links out there.
But since we do a lot of LinkedIn, I wouldn't put very high hopes on this. Sadly, nowadays, we've been talking about attention spam, right? And there is, one more thing that is kind of, a trend that has been with us for a while and is still kind of developing about being very conservative about clicks. So we are right now in a stage when everything was starting, right? People were really clicking a lot on media ads, right? And on everything, whatever is clickable, right?
Right.
Then we kind of started, the era of, ads blindless and so on. And now I feel that users, they are becoming blindless to, hyperlinks. Kind of the new era is kind of happening, evolving. So, and whenever I actually, read through some content, something like that, personally, what about you, by the way, Karen? Do you click a lot? Whenever you read something, do you really click a lot?
I click. I'm not sure if that represents everybody, but I still click quite a bit, especially when I have high trust in that website. So I'm more likely to click on Wikipedia because I know that the content quality generally is very high. I'm less likely to click when the user experience is already bad and the site looks a bit spammy and I have to search for my answer. So it's much more a question of how good my experience already is and how high my trust is to that website that will make me click. But I find that some websites do such a great job on with guiding me through the next topic that's relevant. I think a good example is Investopedia. They do a really good job in understanding where people are in the journey and what might be a relevant next article for them to read.
Yeah, but I'm talking more about basically, okay, you have a great article, right? You know, on a trustworthy website. And it's kind of referring to it has some outgoing links. And I kind of, I realized, I've been thinking about this for quite a while. And I realized that in the majority of cases, I don't really have that necessity to click, right? Whenever, for instance, it's linking back to some stats and saying, okay, whenever it's really something super important, right? Or it's really like kind of saying like, you can learn more about this topic and I'm not going to touch it here, right? In this way, you're going to, but most probably the way right now content marketers, they are creating their content, they are trying to keep users on their pages, right? Not really like, trying to basically give links, right? Not prevent Google crawler from not really, stacking on their page, because that is also, by the way, kind of, I wouldn't say it's kind of something that might penalize you, but it's more like about bad user experience, I would say, something like that. So not really giving any outgoing links, right? But not really, kind of trying to engage users in clicking.
Yeah, it's so contextual. It's so dependent on what you're searching for. I would argue, for example, that Smart Passive Income should link to Riverside in their article. And maybe they don't link to that blog article that ranks, but if
No,
they
I
want
don't
to...
think so. They're linked. I kind of opened it. I don't think they're linking to, just because they want to only have affiliate links, right? And
Right.
most probably Riverside, they don't really have an affiliate program. So they are greedy, right? In terms of basically, because whenever you have a page, right? And you have click ratio, right, across this page. Right. And so you basically, in their scenario, that is monetization equals money. If you give link to something random that is not really bringing you monetization, then you're kind of lowering down your passive income.
They might look at who pays and who would make sense to, but if they want to provide a good article, I would argue that they have to include all the solutions for podcast hosting and recording that users really prefer. And you could look at G2, for example, to see which get the best reviews and the most reviews. So I think it's incredibly contextual. And I think in some use cases, actually, you want to link out for a better user experience instead of trying to keep every link on your page. Like in an affiliate pro or affiliate website, you can try to keep people on your page, but if you don't provide an actual podcast solution, at some point you have to send users off to actual solutions. And I agree with you. Maybe a filter is if you get affiliate money or not. It's probably a whole other conversation about monetization, but a good user experience would send users to the best, most qualitative podcast hosting solutions. Sure. G2 would be another example, right? At some point you read reviews, you want to click through to the website and actually get the solution. So I think there an outgoing link is actually part of a really good user experience. So you want to ask yourself, where are users in the journey right now? And what would truly be the best experience for them? And if you guide them the right way, they will come back for more information, right? They might then read an article about which best equipment to buy for podcast, or how to best, structure a podcast, or write down questions, or all these kind of things. So it's very contextual.
Yeah, I would say, a user that is quite satisfied with your content might consider to subscribe, right, to either your social media channels or to your newsletter. So basically, being with you connected, right? So you can keep them, engage with them, and basically have, as you already mentioned, returning visitors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin, what will be your biggest takeaway from our today's conversation?
Yeah, I think one important takeaway is that, backlinks don't fix everything. You need to make sure you have a good user experience, prioritize and front load answers people are looking for. You build a good product, trust with trust with your users and visitors. It's so many different factors that make backlink programs more successful. We do see in this case that the highest linked to page actually ranks at the top, but it's not the only reason for why they rank at the top. And in really good positions, we also see results that don't have any backlinks. So it is really how links fit into the overall domain and experience that makes the difference here.
Yeah, I think so as well. As for me, I think the biggest takeaway for today was that not necessarily what you think is the best for your business is the best for your users. That will be actually, and that is something I'd love to think over more, because most probably there are a lot of cases and scenarios when I've been thinking, okay, we'd love to do this in the following way, right? Because we want to either capture someone or do something, but hold on. Does it really solve users' problem? Because at the end of the day, right, you are kind of living on recommendations, I would say, right? Each and every business is more or less relying heavily on those recommendations of how users, either their potential clients or current clients, how much they're happy with their service. And that might be even like service in terms of content, right? How well you're providing content and so well, and so on. So I would kind of think over this more, actually, because it seems like that is something quite overlooked, I would say. And also we as marketers, we always try to, build some plans, think over how we can generate this and so on, convert, but that is not necessarily the best case scenario.
I think it's a really good point you make. Another way to look at this could be short-term versus long-term trade-offs. Do I really need to do everything to sign users up or convert them right in the moment? Or can I take some more long-term perspective and just give them what they want right away in the hope that they come back in the future?
Yeah, not being greedy, right?
Not being greedy.
Being generous in terms of, what you share. Yeah, I love this kind of strategy, actually. Thank you very much, Kevin, for being with us. That was a pure pleasure. So
Thanks
thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much. Yeah, well, have a very nice day and talk to you soon. And
You as
thank you very
well.
much, all the guys that joined us today.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.